lover and his relationship with the beloved. The story is that a man actually broke off with his friend. The friend happened to be his boss as well. So he just left him for a while. And then it came to him to go back to his friend, to his boss. And he did it. So that is the whole story. And you see how simple and how lifeless it seems. But in the miraculous hands of Rumi, it has taken such a big life. It has become so lively, full of sense and full of love that it is really surprising when you read it. You can relate this story in 2-3 verses only. A man and his boss, and breaking off from the boss and returning to him, going back to him again. That is all. 2-3 sentences. But these 2-3 sentences now comes out in Rumi's book in 1,000 sentences. None of them are redundant. None is redundant actually. Full of life and full of poeticness, if you like. So the man becomes a lover, and the boss becomes the beloved, and the breaking off from the boss becomes the separation, and going back to the beloved means, of course, to the boss means going back to the beloved. Now the counselors, the blamers come in. Some people counsel him not to go back. The blamers come in, and everybody has got his own saying, his own advice or his own blame. And so the story becomes so complex. And you know, as Rumi goes on with association of ideas all the time, as I mentioned before. So in actually telling us the story, there are many other stories that come to his mind and he mentions. So there is a story inside another story, interwoven, and so it becomes such a big story. The story is about love and about death and about the courage of the lover to die and to leave his life behind. So that is the whole story. Actually, it is in this story that Rumi mentions one of the very famous poems of Al-Hallaj. We had a few words about him here previously in some previous sessions. You know, Hallaj is the arch model of the lovers in Islamic mysticism. As you know, he lived in the 2nd century Islamic calendar, and he was not only a mystic but also probably a politician, and he has got some political ideas anyway. But because of his claim that he was the truth, or perhaps he was God himself, the word and the expression that he repeatedly announced and made public was an al-haq, I am the truth. As you know, truth in Arabic, and the word haq means both God and truth. So he was taken to be claiming that he was God. So he was hanged eventually, and he was actually sentenced to death by a number of the jurists, and then he was hanged. His legs and hands were amputated, so it was a very bad death that he went through. So he became the arch model of the Sufis, of the mystics, and of martyrs of mysticism. Okay, so, and his story sometimes is construed on the model of the story of the Jesus, and some of the people even have written about this, that Hallaj in the Islamic history is like Jesus in Christianity, or perhaps the reconstruction of his story now seems like this anyway. But he was a martyr according to the Sufis, and as I said, his main public motto was an al-haq. Now he has got some poems in Arabic as well. He was originally an Iranian, but he didn't speak Persian. He has got Arabic verses, in one of the most well-known verses, he says, "Oh, come kill me, oh, come kill me, اقتلوني, اقتلوني. إن في قتلي حياة. My life is in my being killed." So that is very famous of him, and Rumi actually mentions these sentences and these words by Al-Hallaj here. Now we are going to read this passage, this piece of Rumi here, because it contains a lot of ideas which I would like to explain this time, and then of course there is another piece in the same story, both of which are very important for our purpose. So, how the lover, impelled by the love, said, "I don't care," to the persons who counseled and scolded him. These are the words that the lover actually said to his counselors and to the blamers and the rest. So it is in page 215. I just go through it and mention some points, some relevant points about this business of death. In that quarter where love was increasing my pain, Abu Hanif and Shafi gave no instruction. Now Abu Hanif and Shafi are two grand jurists of the Islamic world. So he means that law has got nothing to do with love. So that is the exact, meaning of the purpose of the verse. Abu Hanifa is, of course, he was an Iranian, but he lived in Kufa, and Shafi also another grand jurist. These are two masters of two major schools of fiqh, of law in the Sunni sect. So means that do not ask their legal regulations about law. Love is not something to be covered by law, and it is not something that comes under the predicates forbidden or permitted or obligatory or whatever. These are actually legal predicates, forbidden and obligatory. Now love is not something which can come under the coverage of law, of legal regulations. So that is the meaning of this. So please do not forbid me. Please do not tell me this is forbidden, this is not good, this is illicit, this is illegal, and so on and so forth. That's not the way one can speak about love. Do not thou threaten me with being killed, for I thirst lamentably for mine own blood. So هین مکن تهدیدم از کشتن که من تشنه زارم به خون خیشتن. For lovers there is a dying at every moment. Verily the dying of lovers is not of one sort. This of course tells us a lot. Every lover dies his own death, so their dyings are not of one sort. This is important because not only for lovers, and every lover dies his own death, but every person dies his own death. So death is the most personal thing in our life. It is part of life. It is not end of our life. It is part of our life, and it is the most personal experience we will go through. And in order to know oneself, one has to concentrate on the personal, in common experiences. There are common experiences, there are personal experience. Personal experience, in order to know oneself, is much more important, much more significant than the common experience. Perhaps we all eat, we all drink the same, and we have got the same way to eat and to, but there is not the same way of dying. Everybody dies his own death, and especially lovers, according to Rumi, die their own death. So a little bit more about this later. For lovers there is a dying at every moment, at every moment. Verily the dying of lovers is not of one sort. He, i.e. the lover, hath 200 souls or lives from the soul of guidance, and those 200 he is sacrificing at every instant. For each soul he receives